Hi, my name is Christian and I'm working here at Comsys as a Senior Technical Sales Manager. And today we're going to talk about active front ends. A question that we're getting very often is when is the right moment to use an active front end and when is the right moment to use a 6-pulse converter plus an ADF. I can say the regenerative operation is the big benefit for an active front end drive. In a regenerative operation, you can run the power in the opposite direction. For example, in cases of cranes, when you lift up some weights, you are converting from an electrical energy into a potential energy. If you let this weight down again, you can, with an active front end, convert this potential energy back into an electrical energy. So here we have a big plus for the active front end. However, it depends a little bit on how much regenerative operation do you have. First of all, on how long is this regenerative operation and how much power are you using in this regenerative operation. So sometimes it is better to use a dedicated regen unit to convert that power back into electrical energy instead of an active front-end drive. The big problem here is that the active front-end drive has the full power running through the inverters all the time. That means you have a lot of extra losses in these converters. If you look at the 6-pulse converter, the output stage, the IGBTs, is the big part that creates the big losses in the system. Now with the active front end, you have this part twice. You have it on the input and you have it on the output. That means you also have the double amount of losses. And these losses will be there all the time while you're running through power through the system, if you are regenerating or if you're not regenerating. In comparison to that, you have the active filter, where only a small part of the current runs through the active filter, and that means only a small part of the losses will be generated in this active filter. So if you compare the active filter plus 6-pulse drive, you have on the 6-pulse drive the big losses, you have smaller losses on the active filter. And in comparison to that, you have the active front end where you have the big losses on both sides, on the input and on the output stage. And that is now considering a low THDI, so a low harmonic drive. However, in many applications, you don't need to have this low harmonic drive. You don't need a THDI of 5% or even 3%. What you need is a low THDU. And the low THDU can sometimes be achieved with a little bit higher THDI. That means you don't necessarily need to compensate all these harmonics away. You can leave some of them back in the system. That means you can even reduce the power needed for the active filter even more. So if you're comparing the AFE with the 6-pulse and ADF combination, then we can see the losses will be much reduced if you're just having the 6-pulse ADF combination in comparison to the active front-end drive. And that over time will have a big impact on your electrical bill. To reduce the losses in an active front-end, what the manufacturers are doing is they're switching on a relatively low frequency, typically in the range between 3 and 4 kilohertz. But if you're switching in these lower frequencies, your LCL filter, to reduce that switching noise, is getting much bigger. This is one of the big reasons why the size and the dimensions of an active front end is so much bigger in comparison to a 6-pulse converter. But that also means that not necessarily all of this switching noise is reduced from the active front end. And now with new standards coming out, we're having the range between 2.5 and 9 kilohertz that is more taken care of. And with the active front ends, we can see quite some switching noise in these frequencies. Now with an ADF, we can go a little bit higher in the switching frequencies because the losses is still not too bad. But an active front end is not able to go that much higher in the frequencies to go out of this 9 kilohertz range. Beside that, you have some flexibilities that you have with the ADF and the 6-pulse drive. You can have either one drive and one filter, or you can have several drives and one filter. You're also able to have the redundancy a little bit increased. If you just say, I have a second filter as a backup filter, or I have N+1 filters available for my system. These are flexibilities that you cannot get with an active front-end drive. If you have some more questions, feel free to contact me. My email will be somewhere here. Thank you.